Okay, welcome back to more of Zelda's butt. And we just took out level 6 in the last part, so we can continue to move on. Now normally you just go on to level 7, and I think you just go into this cave, into the tunnel system. And normally you would go this way. So you saw the little suspended bridge before. That will take you to the level 7 area. And normally I would go that way, but I'm going to take a little detour. Actually, it's probably going to end up being more like sequence breaking. Because technically you are not supposed to do this yet. Okay, so you see this little statue here. Now you don't shoot it with an arrow. You'll see what this actually stands for if you do the quest in normal order. And it looks like a simple screen. You just go to the right, correct? But if you kind of go off the wrong line, you kind of get teleported. Yeah, so there's actually stuff you can't see there, and technically you are supposed to use the item from level 7 to get through that. But there is a correct path, and it's the same path each time, so eventually you might end up memorizing this. So I'm just trying to slowly make my way through this. And that's the only screen. Again, there are pretty much a bunch of warp points that take you outside that maze. Now, this screen, luckily, is clean. And again, you are not supposed to do this until you get the item from level 7. And normally I would not do this, so I'm not trying to show off and be all pro and all that stuff. There is a more practical reason I'm doing this. And it pretty much involves, on a more serious note, more or less involves the main game doesn't have that much stuff. That's easy to get through. But all the post-game stuff, got a magic jar I can't even use. But the post-game stuff, there's gonna be an issue with grinding for money. And again, so you'll notice what these stand for. These actually point you to secrets. And eventually you can kind of stumble through this maze. If I remember how to get through this, should be an exit from this somewhere. Yeah, it's kind of hard without the correct item here. There we go. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm doing this right now, kind of sequence breaking, because a lot of the kind of bonus dungeons and stuff are going to require basically super bombs. I think one of the hints you pay for info tells you about that. And the thing is, they cost a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. And kind of the first place I go to is going to require a whole bunch of these. The problem is you cannot get to the place to buy super bombs until I get another key item, which is where I'm going to get right now. I guess these are your blue Garayas. Yeah, so once you see how much those super bombs cost, you'll see why I'm doing this. I kind of did some test runs beforehand, and the level 7 area, you actually get a lot of money there. So I kind of want to make as much use of that as possible. You know, otherwise, you're gonna end up watching me grind for like 30 minutes just to get money. Kind of one of the little complaints I have about this quest. I mean, the main quest is no issue, but to get all the extra stuff, you've got to grind like crazy. And a suspicious secret in that corner. Again, on casual playthroughs, you're just gonna go to level 7. I'm only doing this bit of sequence breaking to try to make as much use of the money. Now, had there been a few little changes, I would have just done this the normal way. I wouldn't even be doing this. Again, once you see the problem that occurs with all the bonus content, and you'll kind of get at least some understanding why I'm doing this. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to get through this place because I'm gonna be a little bit under-equipped. Okay, into the next mini area. To the waterfall. Luckily, this place isn't too large to go through. I got some music from the... It's like the GameCube Four Swords. Yeah, so I'm trying to cut down the grinding time as much as possible. Because otherwise I'd have to do all this, like, off-screen, you know, grind for, like, hundreds of rupees. At least try to make these a little more convenient. Luckily, you don't need the item from level 7 to get through this place. This place is actually pretty linear. It just gives me a chance to get a little more free money. I think that, yeah, there is a place where you can get the magic boomerang, but I didn't even bother getting it. It's actually not that useful. I mean, it doesn't do any damage or anything. It's just like a, your typical magic boomerang. I mean, if it, like, stunned multiple enemies or something, if it has special properties, I would consider it. And normally, again, I'm supposed to be better equipped going through this place. And there's nothing in that cave. Actually, we'll be going through that anyway. Get that extra money. Again, if I could hold more money, I wouldn't even... Again, I would just take the normal way if I could hold more money. I might as well just throw bombs. It's not like the bombs are really useful here anyway. Luckily, Blue Gorias, I believe they drop a lot of hearts, so health shouldn't be that big an issue. Luckily, no real secrets in this place. It's actually, again, fairly linear to go through. And since I'm fairly close to capping on cash, I'm going to make as much use of this as I can. And don't worry, I will be going back to the level 7 area, but pretty much after I spend as much money as I can. You'll pretty much want to go into that place with a near empty wallet. Not really anything on this screen. The whole point of going through this little cave now would basically get around, since you don't have the shortcut item, basically. So it takes you pretty much back to the start, but around, these obstacles, which you'll be able to destroy shortly. Nice little waterfall covering here. I don't think there's anything hidden under this, though. A lot of times you usually find some secret hidden under there that you realize you have to get behind the waterfall. Picking up more cash. Almost capped at this point. Yeah, if you want to be safest, just snipe off the butterflies from the edge here. Again, interesting sprite to use for the Armo statues. Just try to skip through some of this stuff. I don't have to beat up every enemy in this place. And again, some sort of map glitches kind of onto the blank spaces. Again, when you see these statues that kind of point in one direction, that gives you a hint about something. And if you look very closely, you can kind of see where it's pointing to. Okay, so going in here, going to this minefield of blue Garayas. And you get a magic jar, and this is an actual magic jar. expansion. And of note, that's not supposed to be your first magic jar. Maybe that's supposed to be like 4 or 5 for you right now. Kind of useless to me right now because I have nothing that uses magic. So again, if you notice very carefully, you can actually walk into the waterfall. Alright, into the next kind of mini dungeon. This is a really weird place. To the Land Mola's nest. I don't know how long this place is actually. If I can just try to shove through this place right now. Yeah, you know what, I'll just keep going. Okay, so first few rooms, you just gotta hit these, basically switches. Get rid of the rest of these worms or whatever they are. It's kind of a weird place. Okay, this room looks a little bit kind of icky at first, but you notice these kind of, I don't know what these are supposed to be, like ants or something. Basically are conveyor belts in this case. Just more to annoy you. I'm just taking all the land molas. Yeah, it'd be nice if I had some sword beams. Probably would make my life a little easier. Again, luckily you don't have to go too far to hit a dead end. If you went the other way, you'd get blocked at this point. You just have to go back and hit the switch. Okay, you got these little chomper things. I don't want to touch those. Those are basically like, you know, trap floors, essentially. So just try to dodge them as best you can. Okay, this one's gonna be a little interesting. You got a four-headed Gleeok with the top of the room restricted. And I think you want to go left first. Yeah, just dead end on this side. Got your blue land molas to deal with. I guess if you're patient enough, you can see if they just try to get into the little doorway here and you can snipe them off. Otherwise, kind of a corner where you can swing your sword optimally. Next the best option. And luckily this place isn't too big. It's actually just an extension of the waterfall, to be honest. If you were to kind of clump the two maps together. I'll just kind of stand on the side here. Well, at least I'm pretty close to being able to spend money, because I'm nearly capped at this point. Yeah, this room's a little bit tricky. Have to kind of carefully maneuver this. Not sure about this type of room. I don't remember how much damage these things do. I don't know if it's like 2 hearts or 4 hearts. Okay, this area is kind of weird because of the way these passages kind of loop on themselves. And if you just have to explore enough, basically your goal is to get to the switches, kind of open up these passages. I mean, it's kind of like a maze of sorts, but it's not like dead ends. You just don't repeat the same room over and over again. I think I'm pretty close to finishing this place. Okay, this room, you see the basically an eye thingamajig there. This room gets a little interesting. That is a Superman handler. An interesting sprite for that. Yeah, the room is kind of bent against you a little bit. And you got all those little chomper things. Yeah, there's no easy way to do this. I just kind of hope you get lucky with some bombs. Otherwise, you have to kind of go in the center of the room with all these kind of conveyor belts. Alright, so this will take you to another area. And this is what I did the bit of sequence breaking for. Get this one item. This is what I need to be able to basically buy super bombs. And this takes you out of the waterfall, and now you can actually destroy these little, whatever those pegs are, or rocks, or whatever these things are. They look like little tree stumps. Okay. Made some good progress. Yeah, the hammer is a kind of a big thing to get. One is already stronger than my sword, but it has other more important uses as well. I might as well show this off. If you notice this little odd switch, you can actually shoot that with an arrow. Kind of going on the roof of this town. And here you can buy the magic boomerang, which pretty much is kind of useless, as I mentioned before, so I'm just gonna not buy it. Doesn't really give me too much advantage. Okay, so yeah, I had to do a little bit of sequence breaking to get the hammer, and you'll see why I kind of had to do this, and start going do that in the next part. Alright, see you guys later.